Welcome to the channel, Cheating Secrets. Simon Velasquez was looking to the left when he felt someone sit down on the other end of the wooden park bench to his right. He didn't feel the need to look at the other person. He was enjoying the magnificent sunny morning of early spring in Southern California, the kind of day made for postcard pictures, sitting on the bench with a large cup of hot coffee in his hands. A few minutes later, he looked to the right and saw that another woman was sitting on the bench, a stocky, middle-aged woman who, he thought, looked familiar. He resisted the temptation to openly stare at her, trying to figure out where he knew her from, and instead attempted to catch a fleeting glance. She seemed preoccupied, watching her child dangle from the monkey bars. On the fourth or fifth glance, the hairs on his arms stood up. He realized he not only knew this woman, he had once been married to her. His blood pressure spiked, and his heart began to race. He debated with himself whether to ignore her or acknowledge her. The debate was interrupted by the woman herself. "Yes, Simon, it really is me, the Wicked Witch of the West, in the flesh," declared Devin Velasquez. Simon slowly turned to face his ex-wife, taking in her appearance fully for the first time in nearly 10 years. To say he was shocked would be an understatement. He only hoped his face didn't show how stunned he was. Simon knew that Devin was the same age as him, 50, but to him, she looked about 60. She was about 25 kilograms, 55 pounds, heavier than when they were married. Wrinkles and crow's feet marked her face, and her once luxurious blonde curls were now cut into a mousy-colored pixie style. Yikes. Wow. All in all, not exactly impressive. "Please be a gentleman, Si." "I know what I look like," Devin said. "I wouldn't dream of being anything less, Dev." "You know I'm not like that," Simon replied. "Which one is your boy?" A few feet away from Devin, 3 boys were hanging around the monkey bars. All of them looked about the age her son would be. He must be 9 now, as far as Simon remembered. But he really had no idea, since he hadn't seen the boy since he was just a toddler. She gave Simon a sharp look. "The blonde one in blue. I know you don't remember, if you ever even knew, but his name is Brandon," she said with a hint of irritation in her voice. "Sorry, Devin." "He's a good-looking kid," Simon said. "And he's a good kid too," Devin said. "He's put up with a lot of crap he shouldn't have had to deal with, but he's always stood by his mom." Now it was Simon's turn to glare angrily at his ex-wife. "It's not my job to apologize for his deadbeat father, Devin. You made that choice yourself," he said sharply. She winced, knowing Simon was right. He usually was. She had just been too selfish to admit it at the time. She had turned 40 and felt old and stifled. Simon's accounting career was thriving, their kids, 15 and 13, were doing great in school, and her job as an office manager at a small law firm was also going well. But she had regrets. She wanted more, specifically, more excitement. It was supposed to be a one-time birthday gift, something special to make her feel young again on her 40th birthday. The kids were going to spend the weekend at her parents' house. With a friend's help, Devin arranged for a 19-year-old local college student to give her a night of debauchery, her personal celebration. Simon was given the choice: stay and watch, or leave for the evening. It wasn't a request. Everything had already been decided. His only choice was whether to stay or leave for the night. No. Not just no, hell no, he had shouted when she told him about it. "I'm not going to let you sleep with some 19-year-old punk just so you can feel young again. We made vows 17 years ago. They didn't come with a one-night exception when you turn 40. It's my body, and I can give it to whoever I want," she shot back. "I need this. It'll be good for me, which means it'll be good for you too." That was it in a nutshell, he thought. If it was good for her, it was supposed to be good for him, and for the family. She knew he loved her too much to ever deny her something she truly wanted. And this, she truly wanted. Just like she had wanted, and gotten, that huge, decked-out house and the massive, tricked-out SUV she drove. He did everything he could to talk her out of the madness, but it didn't stop her. He made one last desperate plea before Mr. College student was supposed to show up. She laughed in his face as she turned him down. At that moment, Simon left, struggling not to cry, and grabbed his wallet and car keys. He drove off in frustration, but 10 minutes later, he returned and calmly parked at the end of his block. He had to see for himself whether his wife was really going to go through with it. A few minutes past 8, a brand new SUV pulled up in front of his house. A tall, muscular guy got out and rang the doorbell. "Damn, that bastard's a big guy with terrible taste in cars," Simon thought as he watched the young man enter his home. His hands trembled with rage as he gripped the steering wheel of his Mustang. Simon hadn't seen what his wife changed into after he left the house. She greeted Lee Carter at the door in a revealing spaghetti-strap top with no bra, extremely short denim shorts that hugged her tightly, and "Take Me Now" heels, an outfit she never wore around her husband. She wasn't planning to make her young lover work too hard. "Wow. I like it," the young man breathed, eyeing the woman from head to toe like a wolf looks at a rabbit. Devon blushed as she felt how wet her shorts had become. Since she couldn't wear underwear under those tight jeans, her wetness quickly became visible to the young man's eyes. He smiled radiantly, stepped toward her, and imprinted his best kiss on her soft, gorgeous lips. Devon wrapped one leg around the young man's thigh as they continued to kiss passionately for what felt like several long minutes. Eventually, he lifted her gently by the waist and carried her to a chair in the living room, setting her down in front of him. With a playful smile, he tugged at the knot on her halter top, revealing more of her figure than she usually shared. Their kisses deepened, and he caressed her with tender curiosity and admiration. A few more minutes passed before he unfastened her shorts. By then, her breath was quick, and the atmosphere between them was electric with emotion. His hands moved carefully as he helped her slide them off. Devon let out a soft gasp as Lee traced gentle circles across her thighs, exploring her with a reverent touch. His fingers moved slowly, attentively, and her body reacted with unrestrained emotion. She trembled as a wave of pleasure washed over her. Lee continued to hold her close, comforting her as she caught her breath. Then, guiding her carefully, he positioned her on the edge of the chair, leaning her forward into his arms. The moment that followed was intense and unforgettable, a connection that left her breathless and overwhelmed. She gasped as Lee found a confident rhythm while she leaned over the armrest of the chair. She couldn't believe the young man had been in her house for less than 10 minutes, and yet he was already making her feel like she completely belonged to him. Her breathing grew heavier as waves of warmth and tension built deep inside her. "Oh, yes, yes, yes," she cried out until her voice broke into a breathless moan. "Oh." Her second overwhelming release within 10 minutes sent Lee into a kind of euphoria. He let out a stream of words, half laughing, half cheering, so intense it made her wobble slightly. The sensations coursing through her were both exhilarating and intense. "Yes. This is amazing," she thought to herself as her body slowly relaxed, floating on a post-intimacy high. The young man held her gently as they both caught their breath. In his heart, he already knew, this moment with her had been unlike anything he'd experienced before. And with more than 3 hours left before her husband was expected home at midnight, he wasn't in any rush. He let his hands fall away from her hips and gave her a playful tap on the backside with both palms. "Woo!" he exclaimed triumphantly, grinning. Although Devon really enjoyed having sex with her husband, her first experience with Lee was a revelation. The guy was not only bigger and thicker, but at 19, he was fit and possessed the vitality and stamina of youth. Add to that the fact that Lee was the first new man she'd had in nearly 20 years, and the evening turned into exactly what Devon had been hoping for. This birthday would be one she'd remember for the rest of her life, if only she could calm her husband down when he finally returned home. However, Devon didn't have much time to worry about Simon, as her 19-year-old lover was already ready for more just 10 minutes later. She had almost forgotten how quickly young men could recover that he came up behind her, gently straightening her posture, and wrapped his hands around her, his touch sending a familiar shiver down her spine. Where do you want to continue this? He whispered into her ear, pressing close. That evening, they were intimate twice more, once in the kitchen and once in the marital bed she shared with Simon. Both Devon and her young partner seemed especially energized, and by the end, she found herself overwhelmed by emotions she hadn't felt in years. "Oh my God, Lee, that was incredible," she whispered, lying beside him, breathless and entangled in the sheets. "That was the best I've ever experienced." Devon saw Lee off around 11:30 p.m. She took a long shower, changed the sheets, and opened the windows to let the night air freshen the room. Later, she sat downstairs on the couch, wrapped in her cozy robe, sipping a glass of wine and watching TV. At 12:15, Simon walked in, looking a bit tired and worn out. Simon wasn't much of a drinker, but even Devon would have admitted he had a good reason to go overboard that night. He came home by taxi, so at least he was being responsible, she thought. "Do you want some aspirin before we go to bed?" she asked soothingly as Simon, swaying slightly, made his way toward the kitchen. You think there's still a we? He asked, drawing air quotes above his head. Simon stretched out his hand, palm forward, to stop his wife from hugging him. She was disappointed but not surprised. She stepped close enough to realize he had been drinking gin, and more than just a little. She could also tell that her husband was doing everything he could not to cry in front of her. He turned away from her, took an 8-ounce bottle of orange juice from the fridge, and reached for the aspirin on the kitchen table. Devon wasn't planning to avoid the topic of her evening activities, as she felt completely justified in what she had done, but she wasn't going to be the one to start the conversation. She just needed to wait a minute. "I take it you had a good time celebrating your birthday," Simon said. It wasn't a question, but Devon knew he expected some kind of answer. "It was a lovely evening. Thank you for giving me this gift," she said. "Let's get something straight," Simon said, stumbling slightly. "I didn't give you that gift, you gave it to yourself." Simon, unsteady on his feet, climbed the stairs with Devon following close behind. He came to a sudden stop at the threshold of the master bedroom, and Devon nearly bumped into his back. He sniffed the air once, then again. "Even with the window open, I can tell it was more than just a lovely evening," he muttered before stepping into the guest bedroom and closing the door behind him. At the very least, Devon knew she should give her husband of 17 years some space. She hoped that, eventually, he'd come around and accept her birthday gift. In all the years they'd been together, he had never denied her anything she truly wanted. Despite a hefty dose of alcohol, Simon slept poorly that night. Just a few hours earlier, he believed he had a wonderful, marriage. He wondered how he could have been so wrong. Devon was already in the kitchen making Saturday breakfast when Simon stumbled in, hungover, looking and feeling like absolute crap. Taking pity on her husband, Devon placed a cup of black coffee in front of him. "Will you be able to keep breakfast down, or should I eat alone?" she asked gently. Simon groaned before replying that the coffee would be plenty. "And here I went to all that trouble making Belgian waffles to go with the bacon," she said, just before Simon jumped up from his seat, ran to the downstairs bathroom, and spent several minutes battling the porcelain god that he returned to the kitchen a few minutes later, looking half dead. "Why didn't you just shoot me, Dev?" Simon asked. "It would have hurt less." "Melodrama is all yours, babe." "It wasn't supposed to mean that much," Devon said quietly. "Obviously, I failed you, Devon, if you felt you needed more than me, or someone other than me. But I thought you loved me enough that we could talk through our problems, maybe find a solution we could both live with. Or at the very least, that you'd show me enough respect to ask for a divorce first, instead of just tearing my heart apart," Simon said. "You didn't fail me, Simon." "Don't ever think that," Devon said softly. "More than anything, this is about me, my ego and my desires. I'm not getting any younger, sigh. As for me, I just wanted to see if I still had anything left in me, so to speak. And now I know. I've been there, done that. Now we can spend the rest of our lives together. Until the next time you want to do it again, for some other dumb reason you managed to come up with, Simon interjected. I wouldn't do that. It was just the one time, remember? It shouldn't have happened at all. Remember that part about forsaking all others? Simon muttered. Devon turned away from Simon. He might have been hungover, but he wasn't a fool. Do you know we've been married for about 6,000 days? What's one night out of 6,000? You're the statistics expert, do the math. It's infinitesimal, she pleaded. Are you trying to get a hall pass of your own to even the score? Is that what this is about? Great. If you're going to treat this like a childish game. No, I don't want a hall pass. I don't want to sleep with anyone but you, although right now, I definitely don't want to sleep with even you. You don't get it. Your selfishness destroyed us, he raged. My selfishness? What about your selfishness, she snapped. You're telling me you're ready to destroy our family, over one night out of 6,000. Over one mistake in 6,000 days. No, Dev, I doubt it was a mistake. You knew exactly what you were doing, and you followed through. A mistake might be hard to forgive, but I can't forgive a heartless plan, a betrayal. You betrayed me. Oh, please. Now you're just trying to be a dramatic, whiny little fool. I didn't betray you. I had one night of great sex with another man. Just one night. It's over now, and I guess you're going to make me spend the next 30 years trying to make it up to you, she said. No, that's not how this works, Simon said quietly. You can't make it up with sex. I'm not some stupid, horny teenager you can distract with sex, like that stupid, horny teenager you slept with yesterday. For the record, I wasn't born yesterday. This was set up from the start. Where the hell did you even find that guy? Devon's lips curled into an unpleasant sneer. A friend of Marcy's friend. She began. Damn it. Simon shouted. I should have known that witch would be involved somehow. Tell me she didn't talk you into this. We talked about it, but she didn't talk me into anything, Devon replied. She did the exact same thing, and her husband didn't throw their marriage in the trash just because his feelings were hurt. Edward is a fucking idiot. You know it, and I know it. Are you telling me that just because that idiot let Marcy sleep with some guy, you thought you could do the same? Simon asked. Devon shrugged. When did you stop respecting me? When did my opinion on something as important as our marriage become less valuable than the opinion of a witches like Marcy? Despite Devon's protests, Simon filed for divorce a week later. 3 weeks after that, he came home and found Devon sitting alone at the kitchen table, looking like she was waiting for Simon to speak. What now, Dev? He asked sadly, sensing another argument brewing. She moved her lips, but Simon couldn't make out the words. What? He asked irritably, not particularly concerned that they were about to argue. I'm pregnant, she blurted out, more as a sigh than a statement. Simon froze for a few seconds, unsure of what to say. Nothing he could come up with sounded anything but accusatory. I'm sorry, he finally whispered. I guess we've gone so long without using any birth control that you just didn't think. It's been over 10 years since your vasectomy. I just didn't think. If I thought at all, Devon said. Looks like I really screwed up, but, you know I won't have an abortion, darling. You know I just can't. He's 19. A sophomore in college. He has no money. I'm in trouble, sweetheart. I'll need financial help, but more than that, I'll need emotional support from my loving husband. We can do this, Simon, like we did before with our kids. There are still 8 months of pregnancy ahead, the birth, the early years, everything else. Please. Just a month ago, the sight of his wife crying would have nearly shattered Simon's soul. But at that moment, he just felt numb and wondered if he would ever feel anything again. I can't raise another man's bastard. As for everything else, those possibilities vanished when you decided to go freelance. I'm sorry, Devon. I'm leaving. You're on your own. 17 years, Simon. That has to mean something, she sobbed. Maybe you should have asked yourself that a little earlier, he said. Devon moved in with her parents a few weeks before the divorce was finalized. Together with her parents, Devon's children helped her with their half-sister when they came to visit. The kids rarely mentioned their father. Devon sometimes asked if he was seeing anyone. Most of the time, the answer was no. Simon sold the family home a few months after their second child left for college. Devon was saddened to learn that the house her children had grown up in was gone, but she was deeply grateful to Simon for making sure she received her share of the proceeds promptly. Over time, contact between the two former spouses dwindled to nothing, as Simon stopped attending any family events, celebrating Christmas and birthdays only with his children and their growing families. I was a foolish, selfish woman. There's no doubt about that, Devon said, shifting slightly closer to him on the bench. But I have to admit, I never really saw you being truly passionate about me. At first, I was almost sure you'd eventually forgive me, then I was almost sure you'd at least be able to deal with it. But I never expected you to actually gather the strength to walk away for good. You were too much of a good guy to just turn your back on me, on us, even if the baby wasn't yours. You went from the best man in the world, to the man who left. For good. I didn't see that coming. It couldn't have been about the money, you were never selfish when it came to money. Even our kids were shocked at how cold you became. I know they told you how they felt shortly after the divorce, but they said you were unmoved by their pleas, and so they eventually gave up. You made their last few years at home very uncomfortable. Did you know that, or did you just not care? Were you so angry with me that nothing else mattered? I wasn't proud of what I did, because it affected the kids. But you didn't deserve anything better from me, Simon replied. You used me. I always tried to do everything I could for you, and you tried to weaponize that against me. Someone had to look out for me, and when I looked around, I realized I was the only one who ever would. So Joe the good guy had to go. So, you decided to spread the word about me all over town, she asked. I couldn't get a date with a decent guy even if my life depended on it. Did you ever stop to think it's because of what you did to me, not what I did to you? If you tried dating people in our circle, they probably already knew all about your little stunt. Plus, you had a child in tow. A single woman in her 40s with a kid isn't exactly prime dating material for certain kinds of men. But it is prime material for young guys and players. She says she's willing to spread her legs, and you were an attractive woman. Am I right? She glanced quickly into Simon's eyes before lowering her gaze. Yes. I guess so. I was just too angry at you to admit it to myself, Devon said. In a nutshell, Devon, Simon said, you were too angry at me. It was always about you, what you wanted, how you felt, what you expected. You never really thought about what I wanted, how I felt, what I expected. Maybe it's because I was too much of a nice guy, always trying to please you. I think you started believing you were above the rest of us, rightfully elevated to the pedestal I put you on. You became self-absorbed. If it was good for you, then it had to be good for me, and good for the whole family. You were just so caught up in yourself. It shouldn't have come as a surprise to you that I refused to accept your damn birthday gift to yourself. We talked about fidelity so many times, and I never gave you the slightest indication that I'd be okay with this. I thought we were on the same page, and until now, I never had to worry that you'd ask me for something like that, he said. Why couldn't you at least love me enough to try to fix this, huh? You didn't even try. You just turned your back on me, Devon said. If you recall, I did try to talk you out of it. I tried and tried, knowing that once you went through with it, it would be too late. I knew you wouldn't be able to say no to yourself, and that in that moment, everything between us would be over. How could you not see that? Devon winced. I did see it. I was just so overconfident that I knew. I absolutely believed that you'd forgive me after a while. You surprised me. Well, no, you didn't. You were consistent. But I was surprised you didn't give in. I used to be able to wrap you around my finger. Your desires, houses, cars, those made sense, Simon said. In the grand scheme, that didn't matter much to me. But your fidelity, that mattered to me deeply. How could you not see the difference? I was so sure I could make you change one of your core beliefs because of your love for me. Marcy told me your love would eventually win out, Devon said. Simon raised his eyebrows. He pressed his lips together. Ah, Marcy. The missing link in this whole tragedy. You listened to her. And me, you just tried to tune me out. I was your husband. It should have been the other way around, Simon said. And speaking of that dumb bitch, what role did she play in your life? It was Devon's turn to press her lips together. I didn't speak to her for over 5 years when I finally realized that she wasn't taking my interests to heart. She was perfectly happy to be my assistant as long as I continued to promiscuous with her after you left, and until I realized that she just wanted a partner in crime. A true friend tries to help you become a better person, not slide down the drain. It took me a while to realize that, Devon said. So, how's your birthday boy doing with supporting his offspring? Doesn't seem like you two are managing all that well, Simon said. Does it make you feel better knowing my life didn't turn out so great? She snapped sarcastically. Simon gave her a disapproving look. No, he hasn't paid me a cent in the past few years. He moved out of state and stopped sending any child support. I tried to track him down, but eventually realized it would cost me more money than it was worth. Hell, nothing I did with that child was worth what it ended up costing me. She slowly shook her head, as if trying to chase away some lingering thoughts. Suddenly, something struck her. Which one's yours? She asked, casting a quick glance at the various children in the park. The little one on the swing, being pushed by the slim red-haired girl, he replied. Devon glanced at Simon's ring finger and saw that it was taken. Is she your wife? She looks a little young for you, she asked, and there was more than just sarcasm in her voice. She's 37. Takes good care of this old man, and of our son, Liam. He's 3, Simon said. Wow. Younger than me. Why would you want that, when our two are grown and out of the house? Devon asked. Camilla, that's my wife. She didn't have kids with her first husband, but she really wanted to. And for a man my age, I'm in pretty decent shape. Still hit the gym regularly, bike a bit, and my wife and I have our own aerobics, Simon said, then blushed as he realized what he'd implied. All right, got it, yeah, Devon said. I think. I'm happy for you. You didn't deserve what I did to you. Simon gave a humorless chuckle. The sound unsettled his ex-wife. Yeah. I didn't deserve what you did to me, he replied. But, in the end, things worked out really well for me. Really well. But don't expect me to thank you for it. After a few seconds of silence, Devon started to speak, but Simon looked up at the sound of his wife's voice calling from the swings. Oh, I've got to go. Hey, I've got nearly a full cup of black coffee here. Not like we haven't swapped germs before. Want it? Sure. Thanks, Devon said quietly. Simon stood and walked toward the red-haired woman and the small child. His smile stretched from ear to ear. Thank you for being with us. And if you're one of those who watches silently, just leave a like, it helps new stories come to light.